Hey everybody, and welcome to another Wednesday night of Hack Show. Wow. I am beside myself, man. I am so freaking thrilled to have this guest on. We were just talking a little bit off air. He's an absolute amazing dude. His name is Ryan Cook. He is probably currently best known for playing in both Ace Frehley's and Gene Simmons solo band. And I'm sure he's got a ton of stories about those guys and working with those guys. So, yeah, man, without further ado, welcome Ryan Cook to the show. Ryan, how are you, man?
I am fantastic. Happy Wednesday to everybody. Good to see you.
Happy Wednesday. Happy Wednesday. Wow, we already got 13 folks in here right now. So let me just say a quick hello to everybody. We got Sandra Picorni, Nelson is with us, Randy Crooks, welcome, Cushman, New York City. Quentin James is with us, CK, BB Maid, Original Paramutant, Gene Schmidt, Don the Chaldean. Awesome. So, folks, if you've got questions, so one thing as we go through this, so I got to let everybody understand. So I am watching both the YouTube and the Facebook stream simultaneously. So if you have questions, the only way I'll be able to see them is please put a bunch of question marks in front of the question, and I'll try to field those as we go. And John Z351 is also with us. Six String Brian is here. We've got a ton of KISS fans that are going to be coming into this show. So
I love it.
Awesome.
I love it.
All right, so Ryan, I got to ask you, man. So let's start right at the beginning, man. What got you into the guitar? What got you into music? What was that spark that turned you onto the whole thing?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me here.
Oh, it's a pleasure, man.
This is awesome. So I'm happy to see you and everyone who's signing in as we talk. Good to see everybody. I'm a 70s kid, okay? So when I grew up, I was born in very, very late 1969, almost the end of the year, December 19th. So almost born in 1970, but I am a 70s kid. And that being said, I grew up on Led Zeppelin.
Yeah.
Aerosmith. KISS. Van Halen. The Faces. Creedence. That kind of stuff.
Right.
And all those bands had Les Pauls in common, and that was just one of the things that I gravitated towards right away. And I listened to a lot of AM, FM radio, which people don't do these days because satellite's out there, iTunes is out there.
Yeah.
Satellite radio and terrestrial radio are so different right now. But, man, I was just a 70s kid, and I had a cousin who played guitar when I was really young. And I really looked up to him a lot. And he really loved stuff like KISS and Van Halen and Leonard Skinner and all that stuff. So whenever I'd go over, I would play his guitar, which meant I would hold it and just bang on it.
Right.
But that was my introduction. Like I can remember hearing the Doobies' China Grove.
Yeah.
And KISS's Flaming Youth and KISS's Hard Luck Woman and pretty much all of One More for the Road from Leonard Skinner. That kind of stuff is what I cut my teeth on. And then when I heard Double Live Gonzo for the first time, forget it. It was just,
yeah.
That was just the kind of stuff that at a really young age, even though I was really young, there was some reason, I don't know what it was, that older rock resonated with me like in a really serious, strong way. Toys in the Attic was what I was listening to when a lot of my friends were listening to Leif Garrett do covers or Sesame Street Live or something like that.
Right.
And, all joking aside, that's what was going on when my friend was listening to Sesame Street or the Chipmunks, I was listening to Van Halen and Aerosmith.
Right,
So
right.
that's where it all started.
You mentioned Toys in the Attic. That's like my number one absolute favorite Aerosmith record. So that's very cool. So when did you get like your first guitar? And are you a self-taught guy, or were you able to get the support from the parents and get the lessons and all that? How did that go?
Yeah. You know what? My first guitar arrived in my life when I was 10, which is about third grade. And I've told this many, many times over to my friends and people like you that I talk to. My ambition exceeded my skill level at the time, meaning I really wanted to run before I learned how to walk. And those first few years of lessons, it just didn't take because I mentally wasn't there to put in the rudimentary stuff, the basic stuff that I needed to do as a kid. So those years, even though I was taking lessons from like 10 to 12 years old, it didn't really stick. So to answer your next question about my parents, the reason that I was able to get where I'm at today was because of my parents. They kind of had a rule that if I started anything, I couldn't quit.
Oh, cool.
And I'll use a perfect example being sports. Now they weren't going to be nose of the grindstone like it. Look, if you hate doing this, you have to do it. But if you commit to something, you have to see it through. Perfect example, like baseball. I was terrible. But every year when I'd want to play, when a new season would start, I'd go out, I'd play, I'd join the team, I'd be accepted. And then 2-3 practices in, I'd want to quit. And they'd always say, you can't. You know, you have to finish out the season and you have to play next year, but you got to finish out this year.
Right, right.
And that kind of passed over onto the guitar to those years when I was 10 to 12. I knew I wanted to play guitar. Like I said, I had that ADD, whatever, not focusing. So every time that I would find someone new, or they would find someone new to teach me lessons, it would be like, you have to stick with this person to see it through for a year and do it. And man, when I hit 13 years old and I'd already learned power chords and I found that one teacher that got it and we went like this hand in glove, that's where it took off. Where it took off. And, you know, from the day I picked up a guitar, my parents had my back up until to this day today.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome.
Yeah.
What was the first guitar? What was the first one you had?
It was an Epiphone acoustic, and the way that I got it was when I was really young, 7 or 8, my mom decided she wanted to play guitar, and my dad bought her an Epiphone acoustic in Topeka, Kansas, where I grew up, at a place called Midwestern Music. And it was a really low-end Epiphone acoustic. My mom took probably 1, maybe 2 lessons, and the guitar sat in the corner of their bedroom closet for 2 more years. Now, let me tell you what was going on and why that probably happened. Did my mom want to learn? I think she did for a second. But my mom worked 40 hours a week at a bank. My dad worked 40 hours plus as a bricklayer, stonemason, private contractor. So all they did was work and drive my sister and I around to whatever school activities we had.
Right.
I'm pretty sure after a couple of weeks, my mom was like, I don't have time for this. I knew that guitar was in the closet. And that's the guitar that I ended up with, was that Epiphone acoustic. Cool. And not know anything about guitars from my first lessons, man, those strings were skyscrapers off the neck. The action was so high. And, you know, it really was a low-end beginner's model, which means it probably wasn't that great of a guitar in the first place, but that was my first guitar.
I think everybody started with the same guitar. It's the same story. Everyone I asked, it was an acoustic, and the strings were like 5 inches off the neck. Everybody
skyscrapers.
Yeah, everybody's got that same story, man.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah.
So when did the bands and work and playing with other folks, when did that start up?
Well, like I said, when you're 13, most people are in 7th grade, which to me was the beginning of junior high school. And I know schools structured a lot differently in different cities and states throughout the years or whatever. The way my school system was set up was kindergarten through 6 was elementary grade school. 7 through 9 was junior high.
Right.
10 through 12 was high school, right? So when I hit 13 and hit junior high, I was officially a teenager,
Right.
right? And I already knew about Zeppelin, Nugent, Aerosmith, Kiss, Van Halen, all of that, right? I had start on everyone. And then you get to junior high when you are a teenager, and that's when you turn into a teenager, you know?
Mhm.
And you start meeting people from other schools. The way it was where I lived, the grade schools merged into the junior highs and high schools. So you met new people when you were in 7th grade, 13. And that's when I started meeting people that were interested in the same stuff I was. We were all reading Hit Parader magazine, Circus magazine.
Right.
This was the beginning of the 80s rock, 80s metal era. Iron Maiden, Judas Priest,
Yeah.
Rat, all that stuff. And I couldn't digest it quick enough. You couldn't give me too much music on any given day to where I wasn't out buying every cassette and buying every magazine. And that's when the band started. Being in junior high, seeing different kids I never met before who loved what I loved was when I started trying to put bands together. And my first band was called Sweet Cheater in junior high school.
Nice.
And we named ourselves, for those diehard Rat fans, Rat had an EP that existed before Out of the Cellar.
Hang on 1 second. It's coffee time.
Oh, sure.
Okay. This is so if you've never seen the show, at some point I will always receive, being Canadian, at Tim Hortons coffee. That was my coffee delivery. Okay. Sorry to interrupt.
Okay, just real quick.
Yeah.
Shout out to Tim Hortons. My Gene Simmons bandmate, Brent Fitz.
Yes.
Is Canadian.
Yeah.
And boy, does he love coffee. And boy, does he love Tim Hortons.
It's a Canadian staple for sure.
Yeah.
All right. Sorry, go ahead.
I love it. But anyway, so yeah, my first band was in junior high, and it was called Sweet Cheater. And we called ourselves Sweet Cheater because the first song on Rat's EP was called Sweet Cheater.
Ah, okay.
So that's where we went. Yeah.
Cool. So was there like everybody has their sort of, I guess, their guitar hero or their main influence, man, I'd really want to play like this guy or that guy. Like who were your guys that you really wanted to be able to play like?
You know what? I admired so many guitar heroes like Joe Perry, Edward Van Halen, forget it.
Yeah.
Page, Frehley. The guys I gravitated to, though, were your Paul Stanleys. I remember seeing Kiss live and seeing Paul play guitar and be a lead singer.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I went. That's the direction that I was so interested in such a big way. It's weird. It's like, as much as I love Van Halen, as much as I love Frehley, as much as I love Nugent and all that kind of stuff, I can never, words would only cheapen from me trying to describe how grateful I am for what they've done and what they did and still do for music. But seeing Paul Stanley playing guitar and being a front man, and it wasn't only the way he sang and played guitar simultaneously, it was what he did in between every song.
Right.
It was the banter.
Yeah.
It was the rap. It was the control and the attention that he brought upon himself to an arena or a stadium full of people. I remember one time in art class in junior high, I convinced our art teacher to let us watch a Kiss concert in class one day instead of doing
nice.
She let us do it. And Paul did this thing where he divided the crowd like this and did this.
Yeah, I know that.
And shushed up a whole arena. And I remember she looked at me and she's like, if only I can have that control over my class.
Yeah.
And I thought, no shit. So I do appreciate people's dedication to their instrument and all that kind of stuff. And technique as far as like a Van Halen and all that kind of thing. But man, that Paul Stanley model in that period was what I was so intrigued with and what I pursued my whole life, you know?
Right. So I gather by that, then in your bands and that you were the Paul Stanley guy, you were the singer,
Yeah.
guitar player. Right.
I demanded it. If you didn't want me to be that in your band, I wasn't going to be in your band. And, but you know, we were kids, but fortunately, no one had a problem with me wanting to assume that role. And it worked out for me. But I just can't tell you. I mean, as much as I know you love music and people that are watching us talk love music, man, how fortunate was I to be able to do it and you to be able to have a show like this and everything? Because, you know, once I found something I really loved and wanted to do, I was Seabiscuit, dude. I had blinders on it, and it was just go for it.
Yeah.
And even though, you know, with today, of course I'm not singing lead in Gene Simmons' band. Of course I'm not singing lead in Ace Frehley's band. I'm in their band.
Yeah.
But in everything that I did up to that point, that's what I did. And it got me recognized and it got me work. So I'm okay with it, you know?
Yeah. Well, you know, one thing I wanted to, I mean, I was going to mention this maybe a little later on or at some point that, you know, guys like yourself and Philip Schaus, who's been on the show, like, I have so much respect for you guys for a couple of things. One is, like, you're basically living like somebody like myself. I'm only going to speak for myself. Like, my dream would have been to make my livelihood music and just do music, you know. But I mean, for whatever, you know, not having, first of all, I can't sing, so that, you know, and I'm not the best player, and I didn't have the blinders on, as you know, I wasn't as dedicated. I mean, I play now and I play in bar bands and I do original music and all that kind of thing, but I mean, I'm not making a living out of it. This is sort of the, you know, the vicarious way I'm kind of also incorporating the love of music and so on. But for you guys that were able to carve out like a livelihood and to be able to do it and make the, you know, this is my job. I am a musician, you know, and this is all I'm ever going to do. Like, that is just, especially, I mean, you know, what we can talk about this, like with the changing environment, you know, the trends coming and going and all that sort, and God, what's happening now, like, holy crap, like, you know, it's just incredible, man. It's incredible, you know.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you. It's just like, you know, what we can talk about, and you're like, oh, you just said, oh, I can't sing, and I play in bar bands here and there and everything. That is all so commendable and matters, because is honestly, man, I still feel like I can't sing. And do you know how many bar bands I played in?
I'm sure a lot.
And it was literally sometimes, you know, to nobody. And it was sometimes, you know, promoting shows where no one would go to, and it's what everyone goes through for the most part when they're starting out. This is pre-American Idol. This is pre The Voice. This is roll up your sleeves, step in shit, and have to go through so many things to where the world isn't presented to you a billion people a night through a TV screen. You have to do this stuff city by city, person by person, bar by bar.
Yeah, exactly.
And so you talking about playing the occasional thing here and there, man, you are doing exactly what we all have done and did, and some people still do, believe it or not. I mean, don't let American Idol and The Voice fool you as to thinking that's the only way to do it anymore, because it's not.
Yeah, it's again, but that goes back to the dedication of it, right?
Yeah,
and wanting it so bad that,
well,
you know, you're playing to 3 people, but you're not going to pack it in. You're gonna show up the next week and you're gonna do the same thing, or you're gonna join
exactly,
the next, whatever, you know.
And that was the biggest thing, was especially when I was in California, just starting out and learning everything, not just how to write songs, but learning what went along with the whole club mentality and having how to deal with it and do everything, you know, to go into that and come out of it with a record deal, I honestly still kind of, when no one's watching, high five myself a little bit and just think of the shit that I waded through to be able to do that. And it all came down to what you just said, playing to 3 people one night, hoping that 5 would be there the next night.
The next night, yeah. Or
and
one
10 the next night.
or
And not quitting.
Yeah, and somebody maybe showing up that can advance your career. Maybe you know, some PR guy coming down and watching you or whatever, you know.
By accident.
Yeah. So so I just mentioned that I was going to keep an eye out for questions. If anybody has a question for Ryan, make sure you put a lot of question marks in front. And I saw one, and I remember the question. I don't see it now, but I remember it. Somebody was asking why you don't have a YouTube channel.
Good question. You know what? Thanks for bringing that up. I should do that. I'm going to tell you the reason right now why I don't. I am the most least tech savvy guy on the planet. And I need to get better at that. And that's why I don't have one right now. Honestly, it's not that I'm not interested in it. I've just never done it, and I need to do it. So thanks for the wake-up call. I got to get into that.
Yeah. Well, I
definitely have a lot of content that could fill one. So
yeah, I mean, because I searched you on YouTube, and there's a ton of clips of you playing on other people's channels. I'm like, why doesn't Ryan post this on his own channel?
I know. You know what? That's a good idea.
You know. All right. So when did the first big break happen for you?
You know what? I was living here in Nashville, and this was the early '90s, and it was '92-ish. And I was living here in Nashville, Tennessee, and there was a publishing company which still exists worldwide. It's called EMI Music Publishing. And at that point, the big 3 publishers were EMI Music Publishing, Warner Chappell Music Publishing, and Sony Music Publishing. I worked for one of the big 3. I worked for EMI. And being a hard rock fan in a country world, that's what I was. Okay. Right. I grew up listening to as much country music as I did rock and roll music. My dad loved country. My mom loved rock. There you go. Mm-hmm. So being here in Nashville, as comfy as I felt, I wanted to be in rock and roll. And I was very well aware of what was going on in rock music at the time. And one of the things that was a songwriter, producer, artist named Desmond Child. And I was first introduced to Desmond's music when Desmond was on Kiss Dynasty in 1980. He co-wrote I Was Made for Loving You with Paul. So all of a sudden, I've got this name Desmond Child in my head. I'm a young kid. The years go by. All of a sudden, I see him again on Aerosmith's Permanent Vacation. Dude looks like a lady, Angel. Then I see him again on Bon Jovi, You Give Love a Bad Name, Living on a Prayer. Then I see him again on Cher, Joan Jett, Michael Bolton, Aerosmith again, Alice Cooper, Bon Jovi again, Kiss again. It just doesn't quit. He was an EMI writer. And when I was working at EMI in Nashville, they used to let me go in the basement at night in the studio and record demos. It was all rock stuff.
Right.
So Desmond comes to town from LA to do some co-writing with some Nashville people. We meet, and he's like, I'm managing a band in LA. You're cut from the same bolt of cloth. You've got to go meet these guys. 2 weeks later, I was on a plane going to Los Angeles.
Cool.
To meet the guys and me, which would be eventually become Hair of the Dog. And that was my first big break. I went out there, spent a weekend. I got there on a Thursday morning, left late on a Sunday night. And 2 months later, I was living in LA.
Wow.
And all because of that meeting with Desmond. And, it was just all, I'm not going to say it was all easy from there, but it was all upward from there.
Right.
That's where it really all started for me.
Right. So Hair of the Dog. So let's talk a little bit about Hair of the Dog. What year are we talking about? Well,
Well, I got there in mid '93.
Okay.
And there were three guys. They were all from Detroit, Michigan, and the suburbs of Detroit, Bloomfield Hills, Farmington Hills, that kind of thing. And they'd all gone to high school together. And I got there. And so this is 93-ish. So we get together, we start writing songs, learning how to write songs. That took a while because we were really young, and you can recognize a good song. Recognizing a good song and writing a good song are two different things. It doesn't, knowing what a good song sounds like doesn't mean you can write one.
Right.
Just like tasting really good food doesn't make you a chef.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. So there were growing pains, and we had to learn how to do that. And we did learn how to do that, but that also meant, we had to replace the drummer they had and this and that. So between 93 and late 95, we were really just getting it together, learning the right songs, getting a new drummer, doing the whole deal. And then 95 was when we really had been gigging a lot, became a really tight, good band, knew how to write songs, when, we just put out our own record because every label turned us down. We were a hard rock band, product of the 70s, during the grunge era.
I was just gonna say that was the timing was off for that type of music at that time. Yeah.
It wasn't odd. The timing was awful.
Okay.
It was awful.
Right.
And you can say it, and I will totally accept you saying that your timing was off, guys. It really was. We were square peg, round hole.
Yeah.
Being out there. I had so many friends that were into what we were doing, and then bands that you and I loved so much, we watched them in that haircut with that flannel shirt. And it's just like, I just saw you guys a month ago and you weren't. We were definitely up against the music industry at that point. So no one would sign us. So we had a great manager. And we put out our single Cadillac Jack, and she released a record on our own. And all of a sudden we sold 30,000 records from touring.
Wow.
Independent band. And then we got signed. And it was just that thing of like, it was always us against the world. Even though that we'd done everything that we could to go against the grain and that kind of stuff, which isn't what you want to do, but if you end up having to do that, that's what you do. And man, we put that record out on our own, and that ended up getting us a record deal. But man, we toured our asses off for 2.5 years on that independent record that we put out ourselves. But it was more fun that way,
Yeah.
It felt good. It felt good.
Just to give the folks a frame of reference, that's when Carnival of Souls came out. So even bands,
it sure was.
Kiss were doing
what?
thing. Yeah.
They sure were. And I remember being on tour. You know how much I love Kiss, obviously. And we were in Chicago. And I remember begging our tour bus driver to pull over so I could run into whatever record store it was right outside of Chicago to buy Carnival of Souls.
Right.
When we were on tour doing, what we did.
Yeah.
So it was awesome.
Yeah. Well, yeah, all of a sudden a lot of the established bands started doing that, They went
sure did.
They were chasing the trends, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So
it was crazy.
So you got the record deal. What happened to that band eventually?
So what happened was we got the record deal, and it was weird because everything kind of went in reverse because, like I mentioned, we put the record out ourselves because nobody would put the record out.
Right.
But then once we went out and sold so many records from being on tour, and we would tour with everybody. We opened, we were direct support for Rat on their reunion tour for 6 months.
Cool.
And then went directly to Nugent after that. We were out with everybody that was on our label. We were out with. We were on Spitfire Records, which had Dio, Black Label Society, Ted Nugent, Alice Cooper, you name it. We toured with everyone. We were never home, which is a band's dream. We were never home. We were on tour with everybody, playing every night in New City, and we loved it. So to answer your question, that first record got re-released.
Mm-hmm.
We toured again. Then we did the second album entitled Rise, which was a blessing we did with Michael Wagner. And for those who don't know Michael Wagner, Michael had done Extreme, Skid Row, Metallica, White Lion, Dokken, Motley Crue, everybody, you name it. People that we loved, he had worked with. That was our second record. And then we went out and toured on that. And then we did one more record called Ignite. And so we did 3 records within less than a 10-year period. So it was record tour, record tour, record tour. By the end of Ignite, it didn't feel right anymore. John Sepetys had left the band, who was the founding member before I even got there, who I'm still dear friends with. And it just didn't feel right anymore. And it was clear that the band was like, yeah, it just wasn't working. And we definitely, you can ask any guy in the band, when it ended amicably.
Oh, that's miraculous.
Which you never hear of.
No.
We are all still friends. I still talk with John and Boot on a very regular basis. I was best man in Boot's wedding. This was all post band stuff. It just one of those things that ran its course, and we realized it.
Right.
And that's the way it went down. But what a good experience! I feel like I climbed mountains with those guys.
Yeah, well, you definitely you earned your stripes, man. If nothing else, like holy shit.
Yeah.
As much as you did and touring as much as you did. So there's a bunch of questions for you, Ryan. This one is Quentin James. He's asking, what is Ryan's live rig?
My live rig these days. How are you? Good to see you. So these days, out with Gene and Ace, let me explain real quick before I tell you about the rig. We do what are called fly dates these days. Back when we used to tour a lot, we were all on buses where you pulled all your own gear behind you, so you could have 3 412 cabinets and 3 different Marshall, Soldano, whatever heads with you and do that. Now the way touring is these days, we do a lot of fly dates where you have the promoter have your gear already there. That being said, we're using what is called a Kemper. And a Kemper is a profiler to where you can have thousands of amps at your disposal in one rig. And we're using those. And what I use in my rig these days is a Marshall, a profile Marshall JCM 800, a Soldano Decatone, and then another Soldano that's dialed way back that kind of sounds like an 800. That's what I'm using these days. So basically, those 3 amps are in the Kemper profile that I'm bringing. But we usually run 2 412 cabinets each and run through something like that, and it just knocks your head off. It's great. We love them.
Got another question for you. This is from Jeff K. Ryan, what can you tell us about vintage brand guitars? Anything goes, anything to recommend?
Absolutely. So first of all, let me tell you, anyone who doesn't know what he's asking about, Jeremy, Phillip, and I are endorsed by a company called Vintage Guitars, European-based company. And our direct liaison is a guy named Rick Taylor, right outside of Dallas in Fort Worth, Texas, and Kevin Easton, who's in the custom shop. And if you go to them, it's Vintage Guitars US, I believe, is their website. Very, very, very good instruments. Les Paul body types, SG body types, Strat body types, that kind of thing. Using Wilkinson pickups, which are amazing. The weight, the balance, the feel of these guitars, we absolutely love them. Philip is using both their guitars and basses because he plays guitar with Gene, bass with Ace. I play guitar in both bands. Jeremy does as well. They're workhorses. Just like as microphones go, the SM50, 57 and 58 is the workhorse of mics.
Yeah.
I feel like these vintage guitars are the workhorses of the touring industry. And let me tell you something else. I know how expensive instruments are these days. And, my whole life has been nothing but playing Gibson Les Paul customs. That's it. Not the standards, not the classics, the customs. That is the most expensive Gibson guitar you can get. I have many and have owned many. I love them. I love them. It got to the point where some of them I just couldn't travel with anymore because the insurance value would never match the emotional, sentimental value of these guitars.
Yeah, I understand that.
Vintage stepped up. Rick and Kevin completely stepped up and have supplied amazing instruments for us. And if you're a beginner or a seasoned pro, you get so much bang for your buck with these instruments, and they're just awesome. If anybody wants to reach out to me after this and DM me or whatever, I'll talk to you about vintage all day and all night, and I'll give you like direct links to go to. They're good instruments, really good.
Cool. I know that Bruce Kulick has got one of their guitars too. I think, or he had them restore one of his Les Paul Juniors, I believe.
Great.
Yeah.
Bruce is great.
Yeah. DR Guitar's got a question as well. Ryan lives in Nashville. Mick Mars lives in Nashville. Has Ryan had the chance to work with Mick?
I have not had the chance to work with Mick. Mick lives about, so watch, I'm pointing behind me, which is south.
Mm-hmm.
Mick lives about 6 miles that way. He's very close. I have a few friends who work really closely with him on a regular basis, and they're working on his new record right now, which he's working on for a long time.
Yes.
But I have not worked with Mick, but many of my mutual acquaintances have, and we are all so happy to have him here as a local resident. And, anywhere he is, he's rock royalty.
Yeah.
We absolutely adore Mick, but no, I haven't worked with Mick yet, but boy, I sure hope I do someday. Yeah.
So when did the whole rock and roll residency thing start up? How what was that like?
Well, there's a period that kind of crisscrossed with stuff, and I know that you've talked with Philip.
Yeah.
A couple times, so this story for the most part. But Philip started the residency with a guy named Jeremy Asbrock, right? And that Phil, Jeremy, and I have a really close friendship and working relationship. Jeremy and I were in a thing called the Big Rock Show. Okay. And that went on. And then Philip and Jer in between gigs, and then we would go gig and do our thing. And then I know this sounds weird, but then Philip and Jer decided to do the rock and roll residency, which did really well locally. So we had these two things going. And then the Big Rock Show started working less and less because of things like Gene Simmons and other stuff. But the timeline's kind of weird on that. But anyway, Phil and Jer had this thing going, and even though I wasn't the founding member, I'm not, of the residency with Phil and Jer, I was always a staple every night.
Right.
And I think some people think that I helped begin that. I didn't. I was just always fortunately asked to be a part of it and accepted as a part of it, and then expected to be a part of it. That's definitely Phil and Jeremy's baby, so to speak. And I love it. It was every Tuesday for 3 or 4 years in Nashville. It became a staple. It was a big deal, and there were a lot of really awesome guests. And I played 2 and 3 times a night with them. The one thing that will maybe dispel a myth or bring some clarity to something is, everybody thinks that, Gene hired the residency or Ace hired the residency.
That was my next question. Yeah.
It really wasn't that at all. I wonder tonight if Gene would, it's like Gene hired me, and then he's like, do you know a band? I'm like, do I know a band? I know the best guys. I immediately was like Jeremy and Philip. So then we came in and did that thing for Gene. So you know what the thing is, it all worked out because it's like, to me, I got to do something with two of my best friends doing the thing that I love to do best. So what a win-win.
Right.
You know, but yeah, it's weird because it's like the residency exists, Big Rock Show exists, the Gene Simmons band exists, and the Ace Frehley band exists. But where did it start? I don't know. It started somewhere between Big Rock Show and the Rock and Roll Residency. Is the best way I can present it.
Yeah, I think I like what you said. I think a lot of people think that Gene just hired that rock and roll residency band, but in fact, he hired you, and you're like, "Hey, I got these guys." Yeah, so that's news.
And I will tell you, an old adage that I've heard for years makes perfect sense here is all boats rise with the tide. Meaning, it's like if people think it was the Res and we're all involved, great.
Right.
If people think it was Gene Simmons band, great. But the fact that what I wanted more than anything is if someone heard of Philip Schaus, they thought of Ryan Cook and Jeremy Asbrock. And if someone heard of Ryan Cook, they thought of, you know what I mean? If they heard of one of us, they thought of the other two of us. And that's what I've wanted all along. And turned out it worked out pretty well.
Yeah, man. You guys, I mean, I like I was saying off air, like I saw you guys in person, and wow.
Thanks.
That was awesome, man. And
Thanks.
So let's talk about, since we got on to Gene, let's talk about Gene. So
sure.
So you guys, when he started doing that, he started doing like the odd show here and there, and then it turned into a tour.
Yeah.
Right? That's right? Am I got my facts straight? And
yeah. Well, what happened was, I can tell you exactly what happened because I was there.
Yeah, please do.
So I was on one of the Kiss cruises alone, and I got word that Gene wanted to have to get together. So I was like, I love this. This is great. I was a little nervous. And we get together. We shot the shit. We had a great, I say it was a lunch. There was food there. I don't know that I really ate. We just talked a lot, and he made fun of me, and so it was a lot of fun. But the thing was, though, was, it was just, Gene told me that day, he goes, look, I'm doing 4 shows. That's it. It's not going to be a tour. It's not going to go beyond that. It's nothing serious. We're done. I was like, okay, fair enough. And after it got together and we did it, it turned into 2.5 years. So all I can tell you is I think he'll probably tell you he had as much fun, if not more, than we did. And that was all Gene that made that go on way longer than 4 shows. We had no say in how many shows we did.
Right.
Gene just told me from the get-go it was going to be 4 shows. Don't plan on it being anything more. Don't plan your life around it. This is it. You'll be done by February. 2 years later, we were still on tour. It was great.
Well, Phil told me originally he was going to play the bass, and then he thought that's kind of ridiculous. Gene should play bass. Is Gene Simmons? And then he ended up with the guitar army, so to speak, of the 3 guitar players.
Yeah. What happened was we talked about it, Phil and Jeremy and I, and we were like, because Gene wanted to stand up front with the mic and be, and not wear a bass, not play a bass, which I'm not going to talk about Philip or Jeremy. I'm going to talk about me. I did not like that idea. Okay. I know Philip didn't. I know Jeremy didn't. But I'm going to talk about what I thought, and they can tell you in their own stories. I was just like, man, there's no way this guy cannot play bass. He can't just stand up there and be Dean Martin. he can't croon. I don't, as a Kiss fan. So I wrote this really, what I thought was a very well thought out, respectful email, 1 paragraph stating why I believe that he should play bass. and I'll do the Reader's Digest and paraphrase, but it was basically, as a Kiss fan, if I were to come see you, I'd be disappointed if you weren't playing bass because you were such a stylist. It's such a part of your aura and everything and blah, blah, blah. Right? I mean, I labored over this.
No, I totally agree with you, boy. Yeah.
Wondering if I'm going to get fired from this gig before I even get my first gig. Right?
Right.
I mean, it was very heartfelt and well thought out. I sent it to Phil. I sent it to Jared. Should I send it? Should I send it? I'm nervous. Should I send it? Yeah, send it. Yeah. And it was in the amount of time it took me to write it, I expected him to maybe read it. And if he did, to come back with this. All I got back was, okay.
That was it.
Okay, I'll play bass.
Wow.
So then it was like, okay, you're stuck with 3 guitar players then. Which, by the way, he loved because when he was in interviews then after that, they would ask him about it. They're like, a bit. He's like, 3 guitars, a bit much. He's like, it's a goddamn guitar symphony. That's what he would say in every country in the world.
Exactly.
I mean, ask Phil and Jared about it. We still laugh about it to this day. You know, it was great.
No, man, it was cool to see because you guys were able to play all the parts.
Yeah.
Everything was there. You know, and you guys,
everything was there.
I mean,
everything.
Speaking as a major Kiss nerd, like, I mean, and you guys, and we'll get into the set list and all that in a minute, but you guys are doing some deep cuts, and you know what? I'm thinking, there's no way they're gonna play that part, and there it is. Like, it's like everything was there. It was complete. So you guys you didn't just play, we're just gonna come out here, we're gonna bang out these songs. It was none of that. It's like, no, we're gonna play exactly the way these songs are heard on the record, you know, so that none of these Kiss geeks in this audience are going to complain about it, you know?
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, that was our MO, was to do it exactly like a Kiss record. And it wasn't, can we do this? It's like, well, who's going to do what part? And that's the way it was. And people who don't know what I'm talking about, it just meant, you know, if there was a dual harmony part on any given song with a rhythm guitar behind it, you would finally hear it like that as it was on said record. Man, it was fun. It was fun. And then once that we got, like, you know, Deuce Live starts with 1 guitar. Dr. Love starts with 1 guitar.
Right.
War Machine starts with 1 guitar. Man, Gene would always go, all of you together start. I mean, he wanted it just big.
Yeah.
He got it.
So this let's I'll ask you about working with Gene and that, but let's talk about the set list. So was he like, okay, guys, these are the songs that we're gonna do, and then I know from talking to Phil that over time you guys started kind of having a little more influence on that set list, and then these deeper started to show up. So tell me about that a little bit, the set list, how that all came about.
Sure, of course. When it first started, there wasn't a lot of Kiss. When he was going to be, like I told you, like Frank Sinatra. He wanted Wilson Pickett. He wanted Roy Head. He wanted stuff like the Motown and that kind of thing. So we did all that stuff at one show in Canada, and it went over just like you thought it would. It sounded great. I mean, he had a good band.
Mm-hmm.
He's a seasoned pro. He had a good band. But I think the thing that he realized was, as much as I love this, boy, everyone else sure wants to hear Kiss songs.
Right.
So the set list in the very early days of when he was thinking that he wouldn't play at all, it was Motown and, like I said, Roy had Money, the Beatles, Money,
right,
that kind of stuff. And then the minute after that, we started emailing back and forth. And I was like, man, wouldn't it be cool? And I just remember saying, "Got Love for Sale." He's like, "No." I'm like, "Oh yeah." People would just die.
Yes.
And then Philip was like, "Charisma." I was like, "Yes."
Yes.
And we start doing this stuff.
Right.
And the minute this stuff starts coming out, our first show in the United States on the Gene Simmons solo tour was in Cleveland. We did it all. We did everything.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody completely lost their minds, including us. We kept it together on stage, but I could feel it. And Phil and Jared could feel it. And I think Gene did too, because there was just like that thing where you look around each other when you're playing, you're like, this is working.
Yeah, yeah.
It really did. It really did. It was a big deal. And just like doing stuff like Almost Human and
oh yeah, God. Yeah.
See You Tonight.
Yes.
Stuff that I want to hear when I go see a Kiss show. I'd be like, if I went to see Kiss tomorrow and they busted out Charisma.
Yeah.
Or I.
Yeah.
I remember doing I.
How about
we opened a show in Sydney, Australia with I one night.
Wow.
No, it was shouted out loud in the I.
And then into I.
And the place just lost their minds. And it was fun being next to Gene. And when I tell you I was next to, I was literally next to Gene. And I just remember that feeling. It was awesome.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, I've seen Kiss probably 20 times. And I've seen, and they stick to the script. These are the songs we're going to play because not everybody in here, their whole, and I get it, people are seeing them for the first time, so we got to play the hits and everything else. But then you got guys like me I've been a fan since I was 10, since 76,
Sure.
And man, I've heard Rock and Roll All Night, and I've heard Shout It Out Loud. I'd love, play Mr. Speed off Rock and Roll Over. Like, play some, War Machine. Like, if I hear that again, I'm going to put my head through a window. Like, I want to hear different stuff, And the beauty about the Gene Simmons thing is it's like, and I'm pretty sure, I'm not the only one feeling that way. And from what you said, I'm definitely am not. When you hear those tracks that you've been dying to hear for, 40 years, and you're hearing them, it's like, oh my God, this is incredible.
Yeah. Oh, I know. Oh, I get it. I mean, I'm totally on the same page. I get it. And
go ahead.
The thing is, I beyond love and adore Kiss. I mean, I know you do too.
Yeah.
I beyond love and adore Kiss. I mean, I just can't, like I said earlier, words would only cheapen me trying to express how much my life became what it was because of Kiss and everything. But I understand what you're saying about the set list and different songs. I understand playing to the masses.
Yeah, I get
and never you never get tired of playing your hit because it's a hit, and you wouldn't be there because of that song. And I get that. What would end up with me though, in my perfect world, would be a 4-hour show.
Exactly.
which nobody wants to do if you're 20 or if you're 80.
Right.
And that would mean doing Mr. Speed and Rock and Roll All Night.
Right. Or you do like a 2 hours for the casual fan, and then you leave the hardcore guys behind, and you play all the songs they want to hear. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah,
sure.
Exactly. Okay, we
get that.
A couple questions here. Let me just.
Sure.
John is asking who sang the Paul part in I.
Let's see. Well, from the first verse, I did. I was so frightened, I almost ran away. So that was me.
Right.
And then Gene was always Gene sang all the Gene parts on I. But then he was very adamant about spreading it out. I want to show the talent of the band. Ryan, first Paul. Jeremy, second Paul. Philip, third Paul. So we all did. But the first one was always me. And then I remember in unison, we always, and the balls to stand alone. We all did that together with Gene. But Gene was always very much about spreading, like shout it out loud.
Yeah.
I always sang, well, the night's be good. You want some fun. That was always me. And then it was Gene. And then the next part was Philip. And, you know, Gene was always very much about like, I want to show off this band.
Oh, that's awesome.
So
tell me about Gene.
We shared the love.
So, I mean, there's one little tidbit, but what? I mean, I'm sure people would love to know. Here's the thing with Gene. So let me say this first.
Sure.
In the press, you know, he really gets painted in a bad light a lot of times.
Yeah.
For some of the things he says, because he's outspoken and he rubs people the wrong way and this and that. But for somebody like yourself who's worked with him, how would you describe Gene as somebody who spent two and a half years, you know, in his band?
I'll tell you that I've experienced both sides of it. When I was first in LA, I got invited to his birthday party that he had every year, which was a fundraiser for TJ Martell. And every year, Gene would throw a party at a place called Jerry's Deli on Ventura Boulevard in Studio City, California, which was a deli / bowling alley. Upon getting there my first year, I wasn't even there 6 months, I got invited to Gene's birthday party.
Wow.
I go. I love Kiss. Love Kiss. Never met anybody in Kiss. I walk in the door, Gene's birthday party. I look around. Who do I see first and make eye contact with? Gene Simmons. Walks straight at me and goes, who are you? And I'm at his birthday party.
Right.
And we had the same publicist and everything. That's why I was there. And I was like, I tried to explain why. So that being said, though, I understand the scary side. And when I took the gig with him, I was prepared to like, I don't know what I'm getting into, but I'm either going to really love this or be really sorry I did this. I can tell you that he is the absolute nicest person that I've ever worked for. And we collectively had so much fun with that guy because he's such a good person. The minute that you're with him and you're there and you're part of his world, he took such good care of us. I mean, honestly, and Phil and Gerbil backed me up. There were times that I felt like we were in Kiss, and I know that we're not. I don't want to offend Kiss fans. I know that we're not in Kiss, and we never will be. It's nothing like, but the treatment that we got from Gene was the absolutely best. It was A+, top notch, 5-star. Nice man.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's awesome. Yeah, that's good to hear. That's good to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah, Philip was saying the same thing. He was just an amazing, just the best boss you ever want. Yeah, I was saying the same thing. So
absolutely. That's very
cool.
Good guy.
The next thing. Oh, wait a minute. I saw one question here. Let me just see if I catch it. If not, we'll just move on. Somebody had a question. Folks, if you have questions, put a lot of question marks in front of the question, and then that'll make it easier for me to see. All right, I got to ask you about one of my guitar heroes and a lot of people's guitar heroes, and part of the reason for my Les Paul obsession. I got to ask you about Ace Frehley. So the story with Ace Frehley, for whatever reason, I mean, he had his band, and I saw him with Richie Scarlett, and you know the guy, and forget the anyways, Richie Scarlett and so on, and then all of this. Pardon me.
Todd Howarth, Chris Wise, Scott Coogan.
Oh, Chris Wise, that's the guy.
Anton Fig.
He was with the. Yeah. Well, you Anton Fig. Now you're going way back. Yeah. And I saw him like in recent years, and then all of a sudden it's like, I'm going to take Gene's band.
Yeah.
So how did that whole thing happen? Was that just a thing of convenience? Because you guys, I know you did shows with them in Australia, and I think you went to Japan. Was it just a matter of convenience? Like, you guys are here, let's just do the show with you. How did that all transpire?
Well, let me just start off by saying I don't ever like to speak on someone's behalf. So I'll tell you how I witnessed the whole thing, and you can ask the other guys about it. We were definitely Gene Simmons' band at the time, and Gene sent me an email saying, "Hey, we're going to Australia." I said, "Great, love it." He's like, 4 cities. It's going to be quick. 4 cities, 5 days. 4 cities, 6 days. Coming home. I'm like, great. And then, like 2 hours later, I got an email saying, "Looks like Ace Frehley's going to be support." Great. And then another email, and it said, Ace was asking Gene, like, "Hey, your band's already going to be there. Do you think that they would be my band?"
Okay.
And Gene actually copied me on the email and said, "Ace, Ryan, Ace. Go." So I was, in my mind, yes, of course. Why not? Reached out to Gene privately, and I said, "Hey, is this for real? If it is, and it's okay with you, with your blessing, we'll do it." Because the thing is, we were Gene's band,
right?
And I wasn't going to extend ourselves to anyone else than him. Go, don't do that.
Yeah.
And he said, "Yes, of course." He said, "Yes, of course," or I wouldn't have suggested it. I said, "Okay." So all of a sudden, we were Ace Frehley's band and Gene Simmons' band on that tour. We did it. We loved it. We had a great time. And then the last night of the tour, Gene said to Ace in front of Jeremy, I wasn't there, but like, you should really have these guys as your band on the Kiss cruise coming up. And then that's what happened. It literally went down just like that. I mean,
wow.
People want to think there were all these like things going like this in conversations.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't. It went down exactly like I just told you. And I know that's boring and it's not sexy and it's not newsworthy,
but it's true.
That's how it went down.
Right. So all of a sudden being told you're going to be Ace's band on this tour, did you guys, before performing with Ace, did you guys have any time to rehearse, play together, go over a set list, or
no?
You just showed up and did it. How did that go?
All we did was we went through Ace's agent and Ace's team and found out what songs we were doing.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, we're Kiss fans. So I'm not going to say that we learned them, even though we did, but we just had to decide who was doing what.
Right.
Who's going to do this on this song? And Philip's like, I've got bass. I'll play bass for Ace Frehley. So then Jeremy and I were like, well, Ace is playing guitar. Who's doing what? Okay, harmonies. Who's going to do this? Who's going to sing this? So we basically just got together over email, phone, and text and decided who was going to do what. And the first time we ever played together was after a 36-hour flight going to Australia. And the fun thing was the sound check was a sound check for winners of some contest. So we had like 100 people there watching us the first time we ever played together.
Oh my God.
It was fun. I mean, it was funny. I loved it. It was great.
Wow. So no rehearsal. It's like, okay, you know your parts. Let's go.
We never rehearsed with Ace. We rehearsed with Gene once, never with Ace.
Wow. How many shows did you end up doing with Ace?
That's a good question. You know, it's funny. I feel like it wasn't that many. But then if I talk to Jeremy and Jeremy's like, oh, let me show you the list. It's massive. And the thing is, that's the thing that I just don't like very much is there are so many things in so many places where I've been with Ace. And I remember shows. I remember all the shows. But it's like, if you put it in the list and do every city, it's like we did that many cities. And I wish I remember something every night. But they start to run together when you're somewhere every night.
Right.
You know, and it's all fun and it's all great. And I have a few things that stand out here and there. But, oh, boy, I would just love to remember every single moment of every night because it was all fun, you know.
Now, I could imagine. I mean, just it's funny because I've met everyone in Kiss except for Ace. But I mean, just
oh my gosh, really?
Yeah, just from being a fan of the band, and knowing of Ace stories, I imagine working with Ace is probably the complete opposite experience to working with someone like Gene. So,
well, yeah, it was. And I don't think it's good, bad, or indifferent. It's just different.
Different, yeah.
Yeah, in the way that when we were on tour with Gene, we never lost contact, ever. We were always together. Backstage, dressing room, airlines, hotels, we were always together. Ace, we don't see him until, if we do something different that night, we'll see him at sound check, but we never see Ace until showtime. Like, I know Ace arrived in the building when I hear the intro music kick in.
Wow.
That's the way it is. And it was very walkie-talkie. We're just all, okay, show's at 9:00 tonight. It's 8:55. Start walking towards the stage. And with, me and Phil are like punching each other. It's like, hey, what are you doing? Hey, how are you? And then the minute that you hear Fractured Mirror start, the car pulled up.
Oh my God.
And then the door would open, and here he is. He's like, hey, hi, how you doing? Hey, it's not a new jacket. Hey. And we love him. And it was so fun. And, Fractured Mirror would end, Rip It Out would start, and we were off. And it was great.
Warm-up, nothing. No sound check. Wow.
Yeah. And like I said, every once in a while, if we did something new each night, Ace would come to sound check. We work over the new song, but it was just different. We saw so much of Gene and so little of Ace. It was just, but they're different guys.
Right. Well, have you got any? Because Ace is quite the character, and somebody was asked. Oh, here's a question. Oh no, sorry. It's a question to see if you have questions. But anyways, so you got to have a couple of funny Ace stories. Like, was he, the Joker? Because he's got that personality for telling jokes all the time, or any funny experience with Ace?
Oh yeah, one of my favorites is just being on stage, because people are usually so in the moment when they're playing music or they're on stage and doing whatever. I had a guitar one night from this company called Carlino Guitars, and the guy that makes the guitars is Eddie Carlino, who makes all the straps and a lot of stuff for Kiss. He's a great guy. Mm-hmm. Very nice. But anyway, I'm on stage one night playing. I don't even know what song it was. And then Ace looks at me. He walks straight at me. He goes, "Hey, what kind of guitar is that?" Like, what? What kind of guitar is that? And the whole crowd's out there. I'm like, I'll tell you later. The funny thing is as much as Ace is into a show,
right,
he can deviate and go make a hard left turn. But no, the funny thing about Ace was, I don't have that many stories. I love the night that he was late for a show, and they were lost forever, and picked up a homeless guy to get in the directions to the show. Did you hear about that?
No, I did not.
Oh my God. We were in New York somewhere, and showtime was 9. Right. So we're all there, the band. And like I said, we never stay at the same hotel as Ace, so we don't know. But Ace has a handler, Jimmy, who's amazing. And, There we are. Time for a show. Jimmy and Ace are on time. Their driver, this is no fault of Ace and Jimmy, but their driver gets lost.
Mm.
And they're driving around this town, and we're like 9:30, 9:45, 10 o'clock. They find a guy, the driver, and goes, hey, can you help us they pick up some dude on the street that got them back to our gig at 10 o'clock that night, an hour later.
Oh, my God. They at least give them a free ticket to the show.
Yeah. But you know what? That's what happens. It was fun. Nobody died. It was a good time.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we've been on over an hour, so let me open it up. I'm really going to be looking for questions for Ryan just to wrap up here. If you got some questions for Ryan, again, put a bunch of question marks in front so I can see them. And in the meantime, Ryan, so Philip was telling me about the Hair of the Dog project. So are you re-releasing? Like, tell the folks about and actually, if you could email me a link, because I didn't have any for that, and I'll put them into the description of the show later on. So yeah, so tell me about that or any other projects that you're currently working on.
Yeah, I will. Thank you. Like I said, Hair of the Dog was the band I was in, and we got signed. Toured the world. It was great. We had a lot of fun. 3 albums. And then what happened was at the end of the deal, our attorney had a deal for us to where 5 years after the release of the last record, the masters will return to you, which just happened. So we released a best of. And that was last year. So that's on iTunes, Spotify, Amazon Prime, everything, all those services, and it sold really well, doing great. So then we thought, well, what if we did vinyl? So we decided to do a 180 gram. It's called HOTD Big Bones, and we did a whole. You can see it right here.
Okay, full.
Yeah. And we spared no expense on it. It's amazing. It sounds great. It looks great. We just, we grew up as kids. So we're like, let's do something that when people buy it and they hold it like, holy crap, this is something. So it's on lindsayrecords.com. So LINDSLEY records.com. You can get this on 180 gram. And we love it. It's been selling great. And we hope you get it and love it and enjoy it. It's been awesome.
Cool. Yes. Please email me that and I'll throw it. So anybody that comes back and watches this later, they'll see the link for that.
Of course.
Yeah,
sure.
for sure. Here's a question. What is Ryan's favorite Kiss song and how does he feel that Vinnie Vincent saved Kiss in '82? The Vinnie Vincent saved. Okay.
Oh God.
I know.
Who is that? Three sides?
I guess it's a 3 sides watcher, CK.
Yeah. Okay, so today I'm going to say my favorite Kiss song is King of the Nighttime World. Changes daily. My favorite Kiss song changes all the time, but King of the Nighttime World probably today. I love that song so much.
Yeah.
I love it. The whole Vinnie Vincent thing, I love the spirit that he did carry the band forward, but did he save Kiss? He did not.
Yeah, I agree. Cecil Music is saying, no question, Hack. Just tell Ryan I enjoyed his vocal on Dirty Livin' on the Buffalo Rock City tribute.
Thank you. That was a lot of fun. And a little trivia addition to that. So thank you for that. I recorded that vocal at Paul Taylor's studio, and Paul Taylor is the original member of Alice Cooper, Winger, and Steve Perry. So he cut that vocal that day. That was awesome.
Oh, sweet. Six String Brian is asking, what was Ryan's worst gig?
Oh my God. Okay. So I'm in Hair of the Dog. We're at the Cocoa Pier in Florida. It's called the Cocoa Pier. and we're opening for Rat. Okay. Cadillac Jack was doing really well. We had a great time. The whole radio station in that city was there that night. And I was wearing some crazy, weird leather pants. And I remember stepping on stage, didn't feel right, hit an A chord, still didn't feel right. Ass blows out of the pants.
Shit.
And I was like, oh no, that doesn't feel right. So then, but I wasn't feeling well. And then I went over to my amp to get some water and grabbed the water, which was vodka. So just imagine how the night went after that. Hey, it happens.
That's hilarious. Yeah.
It happens.
Yeah. All right. Okay. If nobody has any more questions for Ryan, I want to take this opportunity to thank you. This was a ton of fun. I absolutely enjoyed it. It was awesome. I want to thank everybody in the chat for checking out the show. You guys absolutely rock. I will put links to once Ryan emails them to me, I'll put them below so you can go back and check out the Hair of the Dog. And also if you want to help support the Guitar Hack channel, below I have links to merch. There's a PayPal there. If you don't follow me on Instagram or Facebook, that's down there as well. There's a Guitar Hack group as well. So check that out. One more question. What is they're asking what your favorite type, what your favorite gear is, I think that was. Yeah.
Okay. We'll just run through it real quick. So currently I'm using vintage guitars, Elixir strings, pick guide guitar picks, and Kemper amp profilers are my favorite. I love it. Oh. And by the way, Carlino guitar straps. If you want the best guitar straps on the planet, like super comfy, that look great, go to Eddie Carlino. They're amazing. Love them.
Cool. All right. So thanks everybody for watching. Ryan is hanging out for a minute, and we'll catch y'all next week. 8:00 on the Hack Show. I'm not sure who my guest is yet. I got a couple of things in the works, but definitely have somebody on for you next week. So check out the show next Wednesday, 8:00. You guys rock. Thanks for joining me. And thanks, Ryan, for being here. And
right.
Catch y'all soon. Cheers.
See y'all. Thanks, everybody.